Okay, so good day, everyone. Welcome again to the APN Festival, where we have a designated theme in each month to cover the key topics relating to Asia Pacific Network. So from the 1st of June, we had started this event with net zero solutions around the world in 24 hours. So there were 32 organizations shared their latest net zero solutions around the clock. So in July and August, we had the theme of health and well-being and resources and circularity. We have collected valuable case studies and knowledge from our panel of experts in our network. So in September, we had our annual event, World Green Building Week. And this year, the theme is hashtag building for everyone, as recent global shocks have taught us the importance of community and the consequences of human impact on the world we live in. So in October, we were focusing on the topic of green finance, which was the top voted topic in Asia Pacific region during our annual member value survey, which reflects the need and urgency to explore the connection between finance and the building industry. So for all these content, you may refer to the webinar recordings in our YouTube playlist. And now in November is the end of the APN Festival. We're celebrating many things together. The significant achievement from the Asia Pacific Network during 2022 and our prestigious APN Awards. So for today, we're honored to have our APN Awards finalists to showcase their outstanding achievements. We aim to create the positive momentum in the region. So there will be a series of webinars running this week and also next week. Today is our first run for the award category Business Leadership. And we have three amazing organizations here to share about their story. The Business Leadership Award category is sponsored by our founding regional partner, AGC Asia Pacific Private Limited. The three shortlisted organizations are Blue Scope Steel from Australia, Henderson Land Development from Hong Kong, as well as CapitaLand Group from Singapore. Okay, so we have our delegates already in. So as the beginning, let's hear the first from Blue Scope Steel from Australia. So we have Philippa Stone here with us. Let's just give us a little bit of a moment to set up the things. Hi, Philippa. All right, good morning. Right, how about let's give Philippa a little bit more time to set up the things, and let's start from Henderson Land Development to share about their outstanding story in terms of the business leadership. So, Johnny, you ready?
Hi, Joy. Hi, everyone. It's Johnny here from
Hey.
Henderson Land, advisor to chairman. And also I have my deputy GM from project management, Edward Chen, to join us in the presentation. So the two of us will be presenting today, and I have some of my sustainability team colleagues. So I know the schedule has changed a little bit. Okay, and then we will go first, from Henderson Land. I think today we are going to, thanks for inviting us to come along to present. Today we are going to showcase our sustainability vision, strategy, our leadership position, and our achievements in sustainability. So let's share the presentation with all of you. So Tina is just going to take a second or two to do so. Okay. So on the left-hand side, you can see that this is our sustainability report cover for 2020. It's actually quite artistic. If you were to look at it a bit more closely, you can see the word sustainable written on it. So, okay, let's get started. If you were to, not everyone is familiar with Henderson Land, so I'll just give a quick intro of our company. So our company was founded in 1976 in Hong Kong, and it has been listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange since 1981. If you were to look at our market cap, the market cap is around 20 billion US dollar. And also we are involved in different businesses, such as renewable energy businesses, Undertown Gas, our associate companies. We have ferry business, we have hotel and retail business. So our business is very well diversified. So this is just a quick intro. And then our main business is in property development, property investment in Hong Kong and China. Okay, next. So if you were to look at our sustainability vision, it's very clear. We are trying to integrate our sustainability into our corporate business strategy to combat three major issues. The first one is climate change. The second one is human well-being and COVID pandemic. And the third one is how do we promote sustainable city in Hong Kong and China. So we are trying to enhance the livable environment and enhance our people's well-being and enhance the quality of life. So these are the three major issues that we focus on. And if you were to look at what we are doing right now, is in fact very consistent to what the World Green Building Council objectives, which is to create a positive impact, focus on climate and natural environment, and also improve our quality of life. Okay, so we have been working on sustainability for many years. In fact, going back to 2012, not only do we focus on green building, but we have already started back then on healthy buildings. So at the top of the iceberg, you can see that for many years, not only have we been focusing on climate issues, but also waste reduction, energy saving. But at the same time, we were already focusing on how do we promote, more livable environment, how do we address virus and bacteria issues, how do we improve, indoor quality, physical health, and human well-being. And in order to address the issues that we mentioned, we need to have a very good strategy internally, to execute our plan. So the strategy is very easy to remember. There's only one word, which is called GIVE, G-I-V-E. So G obviously stands for green for planet, which is trying to reduce our impact to the environment. And I is for innovation. Innovation, not only do we talk about technology innovation, but also social innovation. I will give you more examples later on. And the third one, value for people, and the fourth one, endeavor for community, is trying to focus on addressing the health and wellness issue for our partners and our staff. And the last one, as we mentioned before, promoting a sustainable city. And if you were to look at the bottom of the screen, these strategies that we have in place are trying to and already addressing 7 of the United Nations sustainability goals. Okay. If you were to look at our leadership position, there are many firsts in Hong Kong. At the bottom, we can see that we are the first developer in Hong Kong to achieve the World Version 1 Platinum level for commercial project, which is the 18 King Wai Road. Bottom right-hand corner, also again, the first Version 2 project that we achieved Platinum rating for our residential project. And on the left-hand side, which is an icon amongst the icons project, which is called the Henderson. Even this is still under construction at the moment, but already we have received 5 major recognition from Green and Well associations. For example, we have the highest level of platinum rating from LEED, from Well, and also from BIM Plus. And then also we have got the highest rating from China Healthy Building Design Label and China Green Building Label. And the top one is Double Cove, which back in 2016 we were the winner for the Leadership in Sustainable Design and Performance from the World Green Building Council. So in fact, if you want to look at the next slide, you can see that this is how we integrate our GIVE strategy into our business model. The Double Cove is the first sustainable community project that we worked on. So we created a healthy and comfortable environment, which was built for a livable community. So on the right-hand side, you can see, GIVE has been implemented. Green for the landscape, over 50% of the site is covered by green landscape. And then we have digital artwork and signage, art statement. We have a very livable environment for people to cycle and to shop, in the daylight more. So why do we say we are the leader in green building? The reason is because if you were to look at the number of green accreditations we have, probably we have the largest number of green accreditations in the private sector. 72 BIM Plus, 15 LEED, and 6 Well International. And in fact, a lot of our new buildings have already achieved BIM Plus silver rating, and above 86% is the exact number. And also in terms of our recognition, we have been receiving a lot of recognitions both locally and internationally on both the project side and also on the corporate scale. So we have extensive industry recognition and awards in sustainability. If you were to look at the left-hand side, the latest one is the one by Hong Kong Building Council, the highest level of achievement pioneer award for our business leadership and sustainability. Also, other recognition from Bloomberg and other international organizations to recognize our leading enterprise position, in Hong Kong and China. On the right-hand side, there are a lot more, awards that we have been receiving over the years, but we won't go through every single one of them. So how are we, why are we so successful in implementing our GIFT strategy, internally and externally? The reason is because if you were to look at this slide, we have board of directors supervising the sustainability committee, and our sustainability committee is made up of, a group of senior managers and vice chairman and the chairman for our group. Our chairman is Martin Lee, and he's one of the two co-chairmen together with his brother Peter Lee. So he is driving all the initiative at the top, and then the strategy is successfully being cascaded down, to different business units, to the working levels, and we receive information, from the working level, and then we pass the information back to the committee. So we have a plan, do, check, and act review process in place to, effectively implementing our strategy. And notice, the green box on the right-hand side. We have also a sustainability working group, which we have like 40, 50 staff involved in it. Basically, every single business unit will have at least 2 representatives in sustainability to work with me, on the sustainability working group. So we, implement and we work together very closely with each other. And together, not only do we work internally, but we also work with the top right-hand corner, together with our subsidiaries and associate companies. So as a group, we have, been working on scope 3 emission analysis. How do we, work with our upstream suppliers and our downstream operations to reduce scope 3 emissions. And then we do a lot of engagement with our stakeholders and partners, and we can showcase that later on in the upcoming slide. So this is a holistic picture of our business life cycle, from land acquisition. Once we acquire the land, we come to the design process, we construct the buildings, and then we market and sell them, and then afterwards we manage the buildings and so on. So you can see this business life cycle at every single stage of the life cycle. GIVE is being implemented. So we consider biodiversity issue, microclimate issue at the land acquisition stage. At the construction stage, we will think about DFMA, these, and also MIC modular integrated construction. How do we minimize waste and construction noise and so on. So you can see this is a holistic picture of our business life cycle. The next slide is going to, I'm going to show you, how we integrate sustainability into our corporate business strategy and policies. Basically, we talk to, all our internal and external stakeholders, such as the government, NGO, our suppliers, our customers, our employees, our partners, the media, and also our investors, to talk to them and try to identify material items, in the process. So you can see that on the left-hand side, the top right-hand corner, we have identified, a list of material items at Henderson Land, and the top ones are innovation, green building, and climate change. And then we have a comprehensive set of policies, not only focusing on environmental issues, but also on social and governance issue on the right-hand side. So over the years, we have regularly reviewed, to reflect the approach to the ever-changing operation at Henderson Land, and then we effectively keep the group up to date and ahead of the curve, in terms of governance, because we spoke a bit on, environmental and social, but at the same time, governance is also an important factor we have to take into account. So you can see over the last 2 years, we have significantly enhanced our governance policies. In fact, we have introduced 12 new policies in the last 2 years, and then we have updated 7 policies over the last 2 years. And again, I want to show you that we mentioned we do a lot of advocacy and communication, because when we think about sustainability, it's not just about doing it alone. We have to work with our partners to do it together. in order to make it work. So you can see, we have done a lot of media work. We do a lot of seminars, focused with TV station, with radio station, on social media, large scale conferences, focusing on climate change, latest reporting, on sustainability, green finance. We collaborate with banks, on green loans, and then we internally we promote, to support Hong Kong Green Building Council to raise awareness of, climate change and reduce the usage of energy. So we asked our staff to dress, business casual. So they were very supportive, as you can see from the bottom photo, in the middle. And also we do different types of seminar, not only focusing, on the people who work with, but also, we run a lot of internal initiatives to support the society. Okay, and as we mentioned, so you can see over the years we have worked with a large number of stakeholders. So these are just some of the examples. On the left-hand side, we work with TV stations, we work with international organizations, we work with our business partners, some of the very well-known international companies. We work with professional industry bodies. For example, today, we are promoting sustainability together with the World Green Building Council. And then, the student awareness is also very important. So we have been doing a lot of, engagement and advocacy together with universities and the regulators and government bodies as well. And on the social side, I want to give you some examples on our achievement on the social side. So we have been doing a lot of innovation and partnership with the government, the communities, and the NGO to work on the first and the largest social housing project in Hong Kong. As you may be aware, in Hong Kong, there are a lot of underprivileged families waiting for public housing. And in order to help the government, starting from 2017 to address this issue, we were coming up with a lot of transitional housing projects. So we have done the first one in Nam Chang 220, the largest one in Kong, Hawaii. So you can see that while we are providing, temporary accommodation to all these underprivileged families, at the same time we were being very innovative in the way that we design. So we came up with, we were using modular integrated construction method to minimize waste, minimize noise, and then we can, easily assemble the project together and then dismantle the containers, very quickly if needed to do so. So from the beginning of the project to completion, it only took a very short period of time. And on the right-hand side, we have a few more, social housing and transitional project to support the community. Okay, as we mentioned earlier, green finance is also a very hot topic. So we are aware that this is, although financially, Henderson Land is very, very strong in terms of our finances, but at the same time, we want to help the industry to promote green finance. So we have worked with over 10 banks together. In fact, the number is 12 banks, both local and international banks. On green loans. So we have a lot of standby green loan facilities in place. And by the end of last year, the amount was 28 billion Hong Kong dollars. These are the standby facilities, so we can make use of them if needed. So again, we were being very innovative in the transactions. So not only do we do it in Hong Kong dollars, but also in renminbi, in Japanese yen as well. In the middle, you can see that we have done, we are the first Hong Kong developer to execute the first social loan to support the social housing project in Kong, Hawaii that we mentioned earlier. And the photo on the right-hand side is our partnership with Bank of China on a green loan project. Okay, next. So now I'm going to give you, some examples on how do we apply GIBE into our residential project. As we mentioned, it is very important to think about innovation, but when we think about innovation, it's not just about technology innovation, but also social innovation. So on the left-hand side, you can see this project, which is called 1 Art Lane and 2 Art Lane. So you can see, before we developed this project, it was quite a rough area. But afterwards, we have invited 17 local and international artists to come and do paintings on the walls and the exterior of the building. So this is a successful partnership together with the government, the neighborhoods, and everyone was quite happy with the end results. And you can see a lot of people do come and take selfies, in this iconic project. And I want to mention that we constantly challenge the existing conventions and innovate in the way that we design, we build, and also how we develop this urban renewal project. And you can see GIBE has again been implemented in this project. And the next one I want to show you is one Innovel project, which is one of the residential projects that we are recently selling very well in Hong Kong. In fact, once the price was announced, the project was sold. All the units were sold immediately, and this is very popular amongst the young buyers. The reason is because if you were to look at the project, there's a lot of planting areas spanning over 2,800 square meters, and there are nearly 400 square meters of vertical green walls, in the neighborhood. So the idea is try to foster the spiritual health and well-being for our residents. And this is an example of how we integrate the nature with our residents through partnership and education. And what is so unique about this is, if you were to look at the middle of the screen, there are two unique gardens. One is butterfly gardens, and the other one is fireflies garden. So the idea is to care about our people's physical and mental health. So when they walk around in the neighborhood, they can enjoy, the well-being of the environment and neighborhood. And another example is another urban renewal projects that we are developing right now, which is called the Baker Circle. So for this one, on the right-hand side, top right, you can see before we developed this project, the roads and streets were very narrow. It's only 2 meters wide. But after we developed this project, the roads are becoming 3.5 meters wide. So we have improved the walking experience and hence the traffic in the neighborhood. And again, on the left-hand side, there's a lot of greenery and vertical green, in the projects that people will enjoy walking around. And on the left-hand side, there is, a trend worldwide to phase out all the fossil fuel cars going forward. So one of our targets internally is 100% EV charger provision in all our commercial and residential projects. So again, in this site, every single parking space is equipped with EV chargers. And finally, just 1 or 2 more slides to go before I pass the presentation to Edward. Another iconic project that we have is called the handling in Kai Tak area in Hong Kong. So this one is technology innovation. We try to make use of robots, for food delivery, for disinfection, and for and for other purposes. And then you can see we have very advanced air cleaning system, and then we have an apps to operate all the electric appliances in the units. Okay, and now it's time that I pass to Edward Chen, our Deputy General Manager from our project management team, to continue to showcase our sustainability efforts. Okay.
Good morning. Wish to say hello from Hong Kong. Just echo what our Johnny mentioned. Partnership is one of our core corporate sustainability strategies. We have a day-to-day engagement and communication with our internal and external stakeholders. We identify our influence into 4 aspects. The first one is our internal staff development, such as green building or SDG or ESG training. The second one is advocacy and also knowledge sharing and also experience sharing to the industry and the general public in local and international platform. The third one is direct to our communities, including our students and also professionals. And the last one is a long-term support for many green groups and professional bodies in Hong Kong. Many of our colleagues are taking up many pro bono positions in the green building green building and environmental organizations, just like Hong Kong Green Building Council, China Green Building Council, Beam Society, and Hong Kong Business Environment Council. Through the organizations, we are offering professional support, contributions, and even project case sharing and advocacies to the industry, and maybe go to the public sectors and the governments. And our latest support, you can see from the right-hand side, is our role in the steering committee for drafting the first Hong Kong Smart Green Building Best Practice Guide, and our contributions are actually keep going. Okay. Henderson Land has been building up many successful green building showcases for the industry, just as I mentioned before. Apart from green building, also have a smart and healthy buildings. Just go back to 2015, we got the China Green Building Council, the first national Green Building Pioneer Award. That is the winner award. In the next year, we entered to the World Green Building Council, APN. We got the finalists in the corporate categories. And just a few months ago, we achieved the Hong Kong Green Building Council's Green Building Leadership Pioneer Award. That is the winner award. Okay. Go back to our companies. Could be talk about back to 2000.
Maybe Tina can help you to maneuver.
Okay. Maybe go back to year 2000. We set up our first green committee, and around 10 years ago, we established our corporate level green building subcommittee that consists of all major business units. And also, just mentioned by Johnny, we have our corporate level sustainability committee that is chaired by our group chairman. In 2012, we have already launched our first corporate level standardized green building design checklist that apply to all our new development projects. And over the past 10 years, you can see from the timeline, we got many awards. I particularly want to highlight one award in the middle. Is from the World Green Building Council Asia Pacific Network. One of our major large-scale residential project, namely Double Cove. In 2016, we achieved the winner award in the leadership in sustainable design and performance. And we also get involved in other world-class events, just like in SPE 2017, one of the major conference, built environment conference over the world. We have a case sharing in the conference, and also on the next year, we have some case sharing in the World Green Building Council business case for health and well-being in green building. So we are expecting to share our experience, not just to the local partners, and also to the international awareness. Next, please. Next. Yes. Around 20 years ago, we have already started to promote 3R, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle in our existing building. We are now talking about it's not just waste management, but also circular economy. Just like what happened last year is our 45th anniversary. The kick-off event was a waste is value that echoed our effort in the circular economy using BIM, DFMA, prefabrication, and model constructions. And also we have quite a lot of waste event and 3R event in our existing properties. Next, please. Okay, I'm going to share with you some of our sustainable commercial building showcase. The blueprints of the green building originate from our imagination. Just right on the successful green building showcase just mentioned by our Johnny. We can go back to a decade ago. We decided to move forward from green building to smart, green, and healthy building. No matter is our commercial and also office building. We'll set the new norm even before COVID. And we set the user controllable office and interior environment. Just like in this diagram, you can see we have a motorized openable window for Grade A office, and also the first solar desiccant cooling in Hong Kong, and also the WELL accreditations in Hong Kong. And after the successful case, many of our commercial building has already started with many smart features, just like another project. Also in the Hong Kong Island, we include many healthy building features into the office interiors, and also we bring into many healthy elements. Just like in this building, we achieved the first healthy building label in Hong Kong. This one. And I just mentioned about motorized openable window. We are seeing there are many opportunities for our office interiors, and you can imagine maybe in the moderate climate period, the outdoor temperature is suitable for lateral ventilations, but we cannot open the window for the curtain wall. So we make a breakthrough and set the new normal for the Grade A office. We get a very positive feedbacks from our customers. So in turn, many of our new commercial buildings has already embedded with such green features. This please. And I also just mentioned about solar desiccant. Desiccant cooling is new to Hong Kong, but we think about can we have a further breakthrough and how to engage renewable energy in such an important system, because Hong Kong is in a hot and humid climate location, such that if we can have a desiccant to be dry the fresh air, so that means that we don't have to have excessive lowering of room temperatures, and in turn we can achieve a better energy saving. Next please. And we have more green features, just like touchless lift calling, and also low VOC paints, and also just mentioned by Johnny, many of our commercial property and also residential properties already equipped with EV charging facilities. Next please. And that is one of our key features supporting our smart green building, just like the weather information totem. You can see happened in some of our commercial building, and connecting with our smart office app and also smart home apps. Next please. And we have more powerful functions in the smart office app, just like for the commercial building case, the apps, apart from controlling the motorized openable window, can also control the solar bright and also the room temperature, and also the office lighting. So we can say is based on the weather, and then based on the weather information, and then our tenants can make a decisions or control to the indoor environment. Okay, next please. And apart from those hardware, actually we have some other software, and also some other building facilities to offer better physical and psychological wellness. Just like in one of our projects, we have a podium garden, virtual greenery, and we have quite a lot of sitting area, and also have a semi-outdoor gym, yoga facilities, and also vending machine. So that means, say in the lunchtime or after office hour, our tenants can enjoy some other wellness facilities. Next please. And we also apply our security strategies into different building types, such as the first virtual art gallery in Hong Kong is H-Print. And for another building, it's just like it's a medical hub. We also make it green. One of the project is namely H Center, and in that project we have extensive solar thermal and EV charging and food waste eliminator facilities inside the building. Next, please. I'm going to introduce you our flagship project. The Henderson is still undergoing construction. That is a super grade A office building and is located at the most premium locations in Hong Kong. That is in the intersections of the central business district and the government headquarters. People-centric and sustainability are our project objective. We bring science-based design into the project with high-tech infrastructure and many innovations. The ultimate goal is to create a workplace for the future so as to serve better people, for people and for the community. Next, please. One of the major risks to sustainable building is climate change. So we take care about facade resilience, flood risk resilience, and also extreme weather resilience. Those are our key concerns throughout the building life cycle. We have done quantitative and scientific-based analysis and also resilient conscious design and property management to safeguard the operations and workabilities in our commercial building. Next, please. And we start the project-based BIM planning when we acquire the land. We engage the main BIM consultant to take care of the BIM implementation plan. The leading consultant also take care of the supervisions of the overall BIM modeling and the open BIM and open GIS integrations amongst the designers and the consultant. We shall carry forward our BIM model and get all the building access informations from our design to construction stage and then carry forward to the operation stage. That will be the part of our digital twin. Next, please. And in turn, this project has already achieved many grant awards, just like the Hong Kong Green Building Council Green Building Award and also Building Smart International Open BIM Award, and many other accreditations and also other international awards. Next, please. At the beginning, I just mentioned partnership with our core strategies. So in the Henderson, the project launched the industry first ESG partnership program. The partnership is talking about the tri-party collaborations, just what you can see in the diagram. They are landlord, corporate tenants, and also tenants' individual staff. We encourage different level of participations at the company and individual person level. We encourage a behavior change, whatever is a greener work style or healthier work style. We are talking about the people working inside the building and also how those companies running their business in a sustainable ways. Next, please. The participating tenants, individual employees, ESG positive actions and contributions will be evaluated into 4 key drivers. Just like what you can see in the diagram, one is carbon neutrality. The second one is health and well-being, and also integrated culture and partnership for good. Next, please. For the tenant level, we can collect the data from both landlord system and tenants' major resources consumptions through the analysis inside the digital twin I just mentioned, and the system will generate relevant reports to suit tenants' ESG needs, just like ESG indexing, ESG reporting, or other green and healthy building accreditations. For the individual employee level, people's specification can be recorded and managed through the Smart Office app. This, please. And we allow engaging big data aggregation platform and establish our own patented technologies. We are now stepping into the second generation of digital twin and embrace IoT and AI analytic technologies for our new office building. Please. And today we have over 50 concurrent new development projects. And for the existing building, we have over 130 residential buildings and also housing estates, and also over 33 commercial properties managed by our in-house property management companies. So, so that is very important to carry our sustainability strategies from the project planning, design to the constructions, and even in the long-term building operations. Next, please. John.
Yeah, so to summarize, give our sustainability strategies being successfully, incorporated into our day-to-day operations and businesses, and every single employee at Henderson Land is well aware of this strategy. So I just want to emphasize again, G is for green for planet, I for innovation for future, V for value for people, and E is for endeavor for community. And our final slide, just to conclude, if you were to look at our logo, green is our corporate color. We have a clear roadmap to advancing to net zero. And then we have very clear energy intensity saving targets, both in Hong Kong and China. And for all the new property development, one of our targets is to target BIM plus gold and above, BIM plus being equivalent of LEED, in the US, and also 100% EV charger provision for all our car parking spaces. We have started to report 2 years ago on TCFD climate risk reporting, both physical risk and transition risk. And so at Henderson Land, we're very committed to the science-based target initiative. So we will set targets, work on our work with our partners on reducing scope 3 emissions. We will integrate sustainability into our own corporate business strategies and policy with the United Nations Sustainability Goals as blueprint, and also embracing innovations and technologies for livable community and a sustainable future, as well as lead and influence our business partners to go for sustainable and sustainability implementations. And finally, we will go beyond the building industry to communicate, to advocate sustainability to businesses and communities. So today, I and Edward have concluded on our leadership in sustainability presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. We see some of the questions on the screen, and please feel free to continue to ask the questions. We will address the question at the end of all the sharings. And those are the YouTube live, so please also type the questions in the chat box. All right, thank you so much. For the next one, we will have BlueScope Steel to share about their success stories. All right, let's bring Philippa here.
Hi there, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can see you clearly, and I can see I can see you well.
Okay, just going to share my slides. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from where I'm joining today, and that is the Bidjigal people, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name is Philippa Stone, and I am a sustainability manager with BlueScope. And I am thrilled to be joining this call today and to be sharing with you our sustainability and climate action journey. Here's an overview of what I'm going to cover. I'm going to keep it high level, so hopefully no more than about 15 minutes. I'll start with an introduction to BlueScope and our approach to sustainability. And I'll follow up with a deeper dive on climate action and responsible products and supply chains. And then I'm going to wrap up with how we are engaging with our stakeholders on our sustainability journey. I'm going to start with a bit about BlueScope. If you haven't heard of BlueScope, you may have heard about some of our brands. These include Colorbond Steel, Zincalume Steel and Truecore Steel, amongst others. BlueScope is Australia's largest steel manufacturer, and we make flat steel products. We do this from a single steelworks in Port Kembla, New South Wales, which is about an hour and a half south of Sydney. This steelworks produces around 3 million tonnes of steel each year. In Australia, we employ around 6,000 people, both at the Port Kembla Steelworks and in our other operations around the country. Now, BlueScope is a global organisation. We are headquartered in Australia. In the Asia Pacific, we have operations in China, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, New Zealand, Vanuatu, Fiji, amongst others. But our entry for these awards is based on our Australian operations, and that's the business that I work for. And so that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. And I think it's worth highlighting at this point that while BlueScope is a large organisation, in terms of global steel supply, we are a drop in the ocean. And we represent about 0.3% of global steel production. But what I hope you'll glean from my presentation today is that despite our relatively small production, we aim to play a leading role in the sustainability of our sector, and in particular when it comes to climate action and producing responsible products. And this is really led by our purpose and our bond. We create and inspire smart solutions in steel to strengthen our communities for the future. And we're guided by our bond, which is our benchmark for success and supports our employees at all levels of the organisation to choose to do what is right. On a personal note, when I was considering taking a job with BlueScope, it was that last line in our bond, our strength is in choosing to do what is right, that was a real selling point for me to join BlueScope, and I haven't been disappointed. The bond is widely discussed and really lived by our employees. We recognise as an organisation that to achieve our purpose, we need to transform and to innovate as never before. Our strategy is articulated under 3 key pillars: transform, grow and deliver. And you can see that climate change and sustainability sits under that transform pillar in recognition of that pivotal role that it will play in the very sustainability of our business. So really integrated into our corporate approach. And then when it comes to sustainability specifically, we have identified 5 sustainability outcomes. These are the material issues as identified by our stakeholders. I won't cover all of these today, but I thought I would focus on the 2 that most of our built environment stakeholders are the most interested in, and that's climate action, number 3, and number 4, responsible products and supply chains. So I'll start with climate action, and by acknowledging that the steel sector is responsible for around 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And on top of that, it is a hard to abate sector, meaning there are no quick or easy solutions for decarbonisation. On top of that, we know that steel production is forecast to grow, largely driven by urbanisation in developing countries. Steel is, however, also a critical enabler of a low carbon economy and plays a key role in particular in renewable energy and associated infrastructure. So knowing that steel is key to our future, we are presented collectively with the challenge of how to decarbonise steelmaking. And here is what BlueScope has committed to. We have 2 greenhouse gas emission intensity targets by 2030, one for our steelmaking operations, and that's a 12% reduction based on a 2018 baseline, and one for our non-steelmaking operations, and that's a 30% reduction. And then we have our 2050 goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions across our operations. To achieve our midterm targets, we have a climate action fund of around 150 million Australian dollars over the next 5 years. And that will more likely be 300 or 400 million over the next 10 years. It's important to note that our net zero goal applies to our global operational scope 1 and 2 emissions, and that it is dependent on several enablers. And that includes the commerciality of emerging and breakthrough technologies, the available of affordable and reliable renewable energy and hydrogen, the availability of quality raw materials, and appropriate policy settings. One of the key tenets of our approach to sustainability is transparency, and this includes really clearly articulating these key enablers for our transition, because we know that we cannot transition in isolation, and that we need to collaborate in order to achieve our climate objectives. In terms of what this looks like over time, here is our indicative decarbonisation pathway. You can see here those 2 time horizons that I just highlighted, 2030 and 2050. And what this kind of waterfall chart clearly shows is that between now and 2030, we are really talking about incremental improvements using existing technology. So this covers things like process efficiencies, increasing our use of renewables, and increasing the recycled content of our steel. And then as we get into 2030, that's when emerging technologies are starting to come into play. And then into 2030s and 40s, that's where the breakthrough tech that's being piloted around the world at the moment is really expected to come online and be commercially available at scale. For BlueScope, we're exploring both emerging and breakthrough technologies in Australia. In the emerging tech space, we have activities underway to trial biochar in our blast furnace. So biochar, which comes from waste biomass, has the potential to partially replace a proportion of the coking coal that we use to inject into our blast furnace. And we're partnering with the University of Wollongong on the technical side of that technology. And we're about to undergo trials at our Port Kembla Steelworks. And then in the breakthrough technology space, and this is, the really exciting stuff and the stuff that you see in the headlines around the world in terms of the role that hydrogen could play in steelmaking. So 2 exciting developments for BlueScope that we are exploring. One in the middle there is a hydrogen electrolyzer. And so we are piloting a 10 megawatt electrolyzer at Port Kembla. And then with Rio Tinto, we have a collaboration that involves exploring direct reduced iron, or DRI, through that green hydrogen that will come from that electrolyzer to create low emissions steelmaking. And that hydrogen DRI process essentially would replace the current blast furnace iron making process that's dependent on coking coal using fossil fuels. A bit of a gear shift now, talking about responsible products. And as I said earlier, transparency is really key to our approach to sustainability. BlueScope was the first manufacturer in Australia to produce an environmental product declaration, or EPD, back in 2015. We currently have 4 EPDs available and expect to publish many, many more imminently. For anyone who isn't familiar, this is a document that's based on life cycle assessment. It's third-party verified. And for a customer, if you're interested in knowing, for example, the embodied carbon of a product, an EPD is where you would find that information. In 2021, we built upon those existing EPDs that we have, and we certified those same products to an eco-label called Global Green Tag Green Rate. Our products achieved level A, which is the highest level you can achieve under that scheme. And our green rate certification, along with our EPDs, mean that our products can contribute maximum points under the Green Building Council of Australia's Green Star Responsible Products framework. And then earlier this year, we announced that our Port Kembla Steelworks had achieved Responsible Steel Site certification. This was a very big deal for us, and something that we had been, and for our customers, and something that we had been working towards for a number of years. For anyone who hasn't heard of Responsible Steel, it is the industry's first global non-profit multi-stakeholder standard and certification initiative. So there's Responsible Steel as an organisation, and then they run the Responsible Steel Standard and Certification program. You can see here that the multi-stakeholder nature of Responsible Steel is really what brings the robustness and the credibility to the scheme. So you have steelmakers involved, you have end users, raw material suppliers, endorsement from associations like the Green Building Council of Australia, and then really importantly, the not-for-profit organisations like CDP and the Climate Group and Mighty Earth, who have all come together to create this standard to demonstrate what good looks like in the steel industry. Essentially, Responsible Steel does for the steel industry what FSC does for timber, or the Aluminium Stewardship Initiative does for aluminium. It's a stewardship scheme and a much needed credible label for the steel industry. As I said, our Port Kembla Steelworks achieved site certification earlier this year. BlueScope was the first steelmaker in the Asia Pacific to achieve that site certification, and the 4th steelmaker in the world. I thought I would finish off by giving you just a flavour of how we engage with our stakeholders on sustainability. And I have singled out 2 groups in particular. The first is our employees. Our people are hugely interested in and passionate about sustainability. And of course, they are the ones who are driving the achievement of our 5 sustainability outcomes. We engage with our employees very regularly through lots of different channels, whether it's online posts, and I've included some on this slide, news items, emails. We do live Q&As with our senior management. We offer employees opportunities to participate in innovation programs and online learning, of course. One particular program that we run in the innovation space is called Scope X, and that's open to all employees to volunteer their time and energy to generate ideas that help us progress our corporate strategy. This year we had 50 employees self-nominate to participate in a Scope X program that was singularly focused on climate action and our decarbonisation pathway. And one of the proposals that came out of that program was around employee communications, and has resulted in the very recent launch. In fact, we launched it last week of a new internal employee-focused sustainability series. So just for our people, called Sustainability in Scope. So we had our first episode released last week, and that featured our Chief Executive of our Australian business, John Nowlan, and our Chief Exec of Climate Change and Sustainability, Greta Stevens, having a conversation around the highlights from our sustainability report and the recent ESG Investor Day that we held at our Port Kembla Steelworks. We've had a fabulous response from our employees on that series, and we have a few more planned for the pipeline in the coming months. And then finally, on the industry engagement front, as I said, we have a very strong focus on collaboration as an organisation, because we know that we can't achieve our sustainability and our climate objectives alone. We have been a member of the Green Building Council of Australia for 10 years. Likewise, the Infrastructure Sustainability Council, and with the GBCA in particular, not only are we a member, but we partner with GBCA on a number of their programs, including Circular Economy, Future Focus, and their Homes program. And I've also included the MECLA logo that you can see up there, the Materials and Embodied Carbon Leaders Alliance. This is a newish group in Australia that's aiming to accelerate the supply of low embodied carbon materials in the Australian market. There's a dedicated steel working group. It has both demand and supply side representation, and we are playing a leading role in that steel working group. And our industry memberships and engagement and collaboration provide us a really great platform to engage with our customers and with our broader stakeholders on how we can support them to achieve more sustainable outcomes in the built environment. That's it from me. I'd love to hear your questions. There is lots more information available online. As I said, transparency is very key to our sustainability approach. So our sustainability report, climate action report, one slavery statement, etc., all available on our website. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. Since we have some time, maybe we can actually address one of the questions. We see James raise his hand. Yeah, James, are you able to speak? Are you able to? Hi, Jim. Are you able to speak? Okay, never mind. We'll see. Like he can type his answer to the Q&A. And then we have some of the questions in the YouTube as well. So we'll consolidate this and have the question and answer at the end of the presentation. Thank you. So last but not least, we have one more great company, which is CapitaLand Group. So we're inviting Mr. Vinamra to share about your success stories with industry. Over to you.
Hello, thank you. Just a quick check if I'm audible and visible.
Yes, all good.
And you're able to see my screen as well?
Yes, it's clear.
Excellent, great. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Vince. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer at CapitaLand Investments. So I think Vince will be easier to pronounce than Vinamra. And it's my pleasure to be here to share with all of you how at CapitaLand sustainability sits at the very core of everything that we do, and take you through some of the efforts, initiatives, and achievements of CapLand in our sector. For those of you who may not be that familiar with CapitaLand, we are probably one of the leading Asian and global real estate investment manager. We are very large and complex as an organization. We have real estate under management of more than 125 billion Singapore dollars. and we are the largest in our sector listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange. I said we are complicated because we cover the entire spectrum of real estate life cycle. So right from investments to development to fund management to operations, we cover the whole lot. And we do it through different pools of capital. So we not only use our own money, but we've got more than 20 private equity real estate funds and 6 listed real estate investment trusts in Singapore. And we are the largest real estate investment trust owner in the Singapore Stock Exchange. And why that is relevant is because that just gives a flavor of how scale and complexity makes the sustainability journey not only challenging, but that much more fulfilling, because you are required to address various kinds of challenges across the portfolio. This slide shows the extent of our presence across geographies and across asset classes. So as you can see, we are one of the very unique real estate investment managers who operates across pretty much all major real estate asset classes, from office to malls to hospitality, business parks, industrials, and data centers. And we do this in different geographies. So we do have 3 core markets of Singapore, China, and India. But beyond that, we have significant presence in Australia, Japan, Korea, Europe, and US. So altogether, we are present in more than 200 cities in over 30 countries. And that makes the impact that we can create in sustainability that much more fulfilling for us. So how do we approach sustainability, and what has our journey been? We've been a first mover in this industry and in that geographical scope over the last 20 odd years. This is a busy slide, but I'll highlight few key milestones in our sustainability journey over the last 20 years. I think the first one came in 2010, when we were the first Singaporean listed company to publish a global sustainability report for our FY 2009, which referenced the GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative. And then the very next year, we got our sustainability reports externally assured. So over the last 10 plus years, we have been publishing our sustainability report that is externally assured. And that was an important aspect for our investors as well. The next milestone, I think, came in 2017, when we pledged to support to TCFD and we started disclosing our TCFD 4 pillars disclosures way before the regulators in Singapore started mandating it. So we had a head start of almost 5 years when we started reporting that. And then in 2018, we obtained the first and the largest sustainability-linked loan in Asia, which I will talk about a little bit later. And then the big leap came in 2020, where we released our 2030 Sustainability Master Plan, which was our blueprint and putting out quantitative targets on the various sustainability parameters that we subjected ourselves to. And over the next 2 years, we launched a new sustainability innovation challenge, which I'll talk about a bit later as well. We launched our innovation funds, we increased our sustainable financing, and earlier this year, we committed to net zero by 2050 as well. I would like to highlight at this point that our sustainability performance and targets are science-based and validated by SBTi, and our net zero targets are also validated by SBTi. Because of this progress over the last decade or so, we have been referencing most key international frameworks on ESG. And at the same time, we have consistently featured in globally renowned indices. So for example, we have been on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index for 10 consecutive years, on the APAC Index for 13 years, the longest standing company in Singapore doing that. We are 5-star, we are AAA rated on MSCI. We've been on the ESG Leaders Index for 8 years, 5-star rated on GRESB, including the latest one that just came out. We've also been a member of the S&P Global Index. We've been at FTSE and the Global 100 by Corporate Knights. So all these indices have recognized our achievements and our efforts. But for us, this is not what drives us. For us, this is an outcome. What drives us is indeed the fact that we have to do what is right for our stakeholders. And I'll talk a bit more about that a little bit later as well. So underpinning the entire journey today for us is our 2030 Sustainable Master Plan, which is a framework focusing on all these three parameters. And I'll take some time to take you through this because this is extremely critical as a guide in our journey. So we said our science-based targets will require us to reduce our carbon emission intensity by 78% from 2008 to 2030. Our energy consumption intensity going down by 35%. And we want to include renewable energy sourcing our global portfolio to the extent of at least 35% by 2030. These were the big environment targets that we set for ourselves in our eventual journey to net zero by 2050. We also said that we want to reduce our water consumption intensity by 45%. We want to recycle at least 25% of our waste in daily operations and divert more than 3/4 of our construction waste away from landfills. And we have committed to get 100% of our buildings. And given our scales, we have more than 1,000 buildings under our portfolio globally. We want to get each one of them green certified by 2030. So we have set ourselves bold and yet realizable 2030 environmental targets. And we did the same on social indicators as well. And while you may not see few numbers here, we said that we will review and revise our targets every 2 years. And in the next few months, we are going to be releasing new social targets that we're going to make public. We already have significant social targets internally, but we will be making all of them public. Things like learning and development, things like gender diversity, things like talent retention, and all of that is going to be made public in the next few months and putting quantitative numbers. Because our belief really is that you cannot manage what you don't measure. And unless we subject ourselves to external stakeholders' scrutiny on targets that they can quantifiably measure ourselves on, we believe that we will not be doing justice to our target. So that has been our approach. And the third pillar that we identified in our plan was on how do we accelerate our sustainability leadership. And the focus there is on using innovation and technology and sustainable finance as drivers to our sustainability journey. And I'll touch on both of these in a little while. And underpinning all these three pillars is our layer of governance on how we make sure that from a structure and process point of view, we are absolutely watertight on the governance requirements of our stakeholders, including our investors. A key part of how we integrate sustainability in our DNA is making sure that we embed it in the entire real estate life cycle. And if I take you through the major components of real estate life cycle, there are three. It starts from investments, and that is extremely critical because once you've made an investment, there's no turning back. And there are a lot of decisions that you will not be able to reverse if you do not integrate sustainability criteria in your investment. So how do we do that? Few things. First, every time an investment comes to an investment committee for us, and for us, an investment could be either buying a building or buying land to develop or buying a portfolio of buildings or buying a company or a portfolio of companies, etc. Right? Whatever the nature of investment, we do a few things at the investment committee stage. First, each investment goes through a very detailed environmental health and safety impact assessment. And it is not just any regular technical due diligence that everybody will do. What we do in this is on top of the regular due diligence aspects, we actually measure the current environmental performance of that building that we're going to acquire on all the parameters that I had just highlighted earlier: energy, carbon emission, water waste, green rating, etc., etc. And then we compare that current performance against the 2030 targets that we have set for ourselves, and we identify what that gap is. And then we ensure that we underwrite the capital expenditures needed to meet that gap towards the 2030 target right at the investment stage in my financial model. What that ensures is that right from the moment a new asset comes into my portfolio, I have a very clear idea of what is needed to green that asset. And in the practical world, it is but obvious that not everything that you buy will be to your green standards. When you are a pure developer developing greenfield, it's far easier to a certain extent because you can integrate all of that in your design, and which we do, and I'll come to that in step number 2. But you have full control right from the beginning. But when you go and acquire assets from outside, from the market, you don't have that luxury. So therefore, what we do is we have a very clear roadmap of how do I green that asset over the next few years, and what does that mean financially. The second thing that we do at the investment stage is we include an internal carbon price in all our financial investment decisions. And that internal carbon price can vary from geography to geography, and it will always be stricter than what the regulations and the law of the land currently dictate. So for example, if Singapore today is at $5, our ICP for Singapore is way, way higher, already preparing for what's going to happen in Singapore in 2030. So that again helps us quantify the real impact, which is going to hit the asset sooner than later. And the third thing that we do is compute what we call as return on sustainability. It's an internal proprietary metric that we've developed, and that measures the financial benefits and returns of all the green investments that I'm going to do, and what does it mean in terms of either savings in OPEX or a lower cost of capital, or various other ways in which I will be able to actually make returns on sustainability. And the reason for doing that is that because that further integrates financial considerations into your ESG considerations, so that whatever we put in when we're buying an asset is real, it's concrete, and it's not just a plan that we will do after 4 or 5 years. No, we're putting our money where the mouth is. So what we do at investment stage is very critical in an investment-heavy business like us. Then at the design and procurement stage, and I'll share some case studies later on, we have an in-house capital and sustainable building guidelines, which are very strict in terms of what design parameters need to go in to make sure that our buildings are future-proof, not only meeting our 2030 targets, but eventually our net zero targets as well. And while there are a lot of operational carbon elements in that, embodied carbon is a very key aspect of that as well. And the third stage of a life cycle is operations, when our operations team operate the asset on an year-on-year basis. And there, every year, we peg our assets' sustainability performance on environment parameters to our 2030 targets. Now, and we continue to monitor and measure the gaps so that we can budget the right CapEx needed next year to keep making that progress. So, and we use innovation very, very heavily to do that. And I'll come to that in a while. So that's how sustainability is integrated into our entire life cycle. And at the bottom, underpinning all of this is our balanced scorecard framework, where ESG targets are entrenched in our balanced scorecard and KPIs and performance share plans. So right from our group CEO all the way down to each level, ESG KPIs are inbuilt, and remunerations of all staff, including senior leadership, is directly linked to the performance on our ESG targets. The carbon mitigation hierarchy is really our compass that determines how do we actually go about decarbonizing. And as you can see, I'm spending quite a bit of time to explain to you how we are decarbonizing, because we've come a long way over the last decade, right? And we've already set our targets. We have a net zero targets. We know where we want to go. So the focus for the next few years for us is on the how, and really that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's where every single action that we take in the company is guided by how do we reach our 2030 targets. So how do we use the carbon mitigation hierarchy? I'll give you some examples. When we start at the design stage, we design it for low consumption. So we could be using sunshades and cool paints. We could be designing for maximizing the use of daylight and light shelves. We will choose low embodied carbon materials for fit outs, etc. So we believe that the most we can influence the design stage, the better it is for the life cycle of the asset. But as I said, not everything is built greenfield, right? We will keep acquiring. So how do we address those challenges? That's where we come to reduce part, and that has two components. First is focus on energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is a holy grail for real estate sector, where there's a lot of scope for improving the energy performance of the buildings. And I'll give you a flavor of this. And we have done pilots even on buildings that are currently platinum certified. And when you run a net zero analysis on those buildings, and we have done that practically, we will realize that there is still so much scope to reduce energy consumption of those buildings to reach the net zero targets. So this is a very important lever. And the focus here is energy efficient HVAC lighting systems, zoning of air cons, efficient boiler heat pumps, district cooling, wherever it is feasible. And all of these efforts we continue to do. But a very important part of energy efficiency is what we call as control metering and monitoring, which is essentially an intelligent building platform that we have. And we have more than 45 buildings now sitting on that intelligent building platforms. It's essentially a cloud-based IoT-driven platform where all these buildings sit and they talk to each other. And it enables us to do a lot of data analytics, including predictive analysis. So for example, we know how the weather patterns are going to be in the next few days. And based on that, we combine that with the expected footfalls of the buildings, and we can then adjust the set points of the buildings automatically to make sure that our energy consumption is the most efficient, right? The more sub-metering we have, the more granular control we can bring. So we use a lot of technology pilots to control this part to make sure that we are using AI and IoT to control energy efficiency. The third lever for us is replacing the source of energy, and that is where on-site renewables and green power purchase agreements play a very key role. Wherever we can, we expand and put solar panels on the building rooftops, and I'll give you an example in the next few slides. But we don't restrict ourselves only to rooftop solars. We are already piloting new technologies like micro-wind turbines, waste-to-energy solutions, and other such technologies to complement the solar PVs in existing buildings. Because solar PVs, while they're very important, they are very contextual and they may not work in all kinds of settings. Singapore, for example, if you go to a CBD of Singapore, there's a very high shade there. You don't get much direct sunlight. And there you may need to try some other technologies. So likewise, by trying out different technologies, we give ourselves a latitude of context of geography. We are also expanding off-site procurement or through solar and wind farms in geographies where it's technically and regulatory-wise feasible. After we have exhausted all of these, we treat carbon offsets and regs only as the last mile to address those hard-to-abate residual carbon that we cannot remove after doing everything else. So our philosophy is real-world decarbonization, and we will only go to buy offsets when we have exhausted all of these to cover our last mile. And we think that is the right way to approach the decarbonization journey. And I also want to highlight that ours is a business where you buy assets, you upgrade them, you stabilize them, and then you sell assets. And we believe that selling brown or dirty assets is not the right solution, because that's really, kicking the problem in somebody else's backyard. So therefore, our focus is in decarbonizing and investing in decarbonizing current assets so that we are making real world impact and not just selling assets that are brown. These are some examples of the levers that I showed. So I won't spend too much time on these, but this is how, for example, we use digitalization and IoT. These are some of the dashboards that help us to do automated fault detection and diagnosis. We are currently actually running 4 different pilots of software as a solution comparing it against our prevalent intelligent building platform, because technology is evolving very rapidly in this field. So we want to be ahead of the curve and see how do we balance and choose the right solutions going forward. Renewable energy is a key lever. I want to highlight, for example, India here. In India, we've got not only solar rooftops, but we've got virtual power purchase agreements with 2 power offsite providers, and cumulatively almost 40% or more of our entire energy needs in India are today sourced from solar. Right, and that's the extent of energy that we are sourcing from solar. Similarly, in some of our properties in the EU, 100% of our energy is sourced from renewable energy. In Singapore, which is notoriously tough for green power for obvious reasons, we've got 11 properties and almost 46,000 meters square of rooftop panels in our buildings here. And our corporate offices have been already on 100% renewable since 2020. So we continue to deep dive on renewables as a key lever for us. And this is an exciting part because I think this is something very unique, which we don't see much in the market in our industry. What we did in 2020 is set up a CapitaLand Sustainability X Challenge. It's a global sustainability innovation challenge where we crowdsource technologies from all over the world. We take them through a process of shortlisting and mentoring, and then we select the top 10 solutions which we want to pilot in our properties globally. We fund all these pilots and projects, and we don't stop at just giving a prize money and that is it. Our focus really is on real-world implementation. So what we do is we provide all these innovators and technologies a sandbox where they can come in and in a real-world situation, commercialize their technologies. And when we see proof of value, we offer them our entire global portfolio to scale up. And because we are so diverse, we can actually contextualize to see which solution can work best in which type of asset class and which geography. For example, a particular solution may suit a data center in Australia and something else may suit, an office building in India. So that scale allows us to do that. And these are some of the examples from the first challenge we ran, and we got the results in 2021. The one that you see on the left is a solution that we piloted in a building that is already a platinum building. And we achieved a fan energy usage reduction of 51%, cooling load of chillers of up to 16%, right? And this has an ROI of almost less than 3 years. When we get all these entire savings in the Singapore context. And we are going to scale this up now. This is a technology where you put these nets into AHUs. Similarly, there are various other technologies that are in the final stages of getting the final data completed. But these are the numbers that you see, the extent to which they will reduce on energy consumption. For example, the second one that you see are glass retrofit panels that we are putting in our business parks in Portland in US. That's going to reduce heat gain and heat loss in winters by up to 10%. We actually have the number 3 solution that you see. It's a biostick that converts humidity in the air to irrigation in the land. So you don't need fresh water for irrigation, likewise. Similarly, the second edition of a challenge through all these 10 solutions, I won't go into the detail on all these solutions, and we are in various stages of piloting all these solutions. And this is very real for us. So we fund these through our innovation fund. And once we get the right results, they're all in the process of getting scaled up in our portfolio. But not only externally, we source innovation internally as well because of how big we are and the amount of technical expertise we have in the organization. So we throw open an in-house innovation challenge where we encourage our technical teams all over the world to give in their ideas and suggestions. They go through a screening process. And once we feel that we have got the right solutions, through our innovation fund, we give them money to say, hey, you go ahead, you implement this, and let's see what the results are. And these that you see on your screen are some of those examples that came from our own people, and we have empowered them through the right structure, process, money, and systems to go ahead and implement. So it serves many, many purposes, not only on our climate goals, but also on how do we motivate innovation within the company. Sustainable finance is another key lever for decarbonization for us. So we have raised as a group, between our parent group and all the real estate investment trusts that we have, over 10 billion Singapore dollars of sustainable finance since 2018. If you break them down, bulk of them are sustainability linked loans, and the next big chunk are green loans. And how do they differ? Green loans are where the proceeds are defined on where they can be used. They can only be used on greening certain projects. Whereas sustainability linked loans can be used for general purposes, but the interest rate of those loans are linked to specific targets. So I've given 3 examples of what such targets could be. For example, our ratings on indices like GRESB and DJSI, minimum green building certification, or even quantified targets on reduction of carbon, energy, and water. And if we meet those, then the interest rates on our loans comes down. And we have been enjoying interest rate savings for the last 3 years of these loans, and we channel all those savings back as green investments into the future. And we've done this with multiple banks from different geographies. So this is increasingly a key lever where we work with our financial partners to make our sustainability journey real. We have a very strong governance structure in place, led right from a board of directors, under whom sits a strategy and sustainability committee. And this committee of the board oversees our entire sustainability progress. Below that, we've got a leadership council, which is the key council of our CEOs and CXOs, and a sustainable management committee under that, which gets one level deeper in monitoring our progress and performance towards the 2030 targets and continuing to challenge on technologies and financial models on sustainability for us. And at the heart of this is the biggest box that you see here, which is the sustainability work committees. As a CSO, I sit in the HQ, and I've got a sustainability team in the headquarters of 16 people. It's probably one of the largest sustainability teams in Singapore doing only sustainability work. But our sustainability work doesn't stop at the 16 people in the HQ. At each of our business units across the 30 countries that we are in, there is a sustainability implementation committee, which consists of people from investment, asset management, and operations. And every month, all these committees come together and we cross-share ideas. We address and report our respective performances. We share new technologies and learnings. And that facilitates a lot of cross-learnings and breaks silos, because sustainability is something that has the most impact when you share whatever we are doing in different geographies. So this is a very important structure for us to make sure we expand the scope of what we are doing globally and equally. Engaging our stakeholders through partnership is extremely key. And these 4 are our key stakeholders, which play a very, very critical role in the way we percolate. And I'll give you some examples. Let's take customers, for example. We implement green leases very seriously. For example, more than 85% of our properties in Singapore are under our green lease program, where we have dedicated targets that our customers who are on a similar journey of sustainability as us ascribe to in terms of their fit outs, in terms of their energy, water, waste consumption, in terms of their culture building. And in many of these cases, these are legally binding. So green leases is a very key tool for us to target our scope 3 emissions, because tenant consumption in our industry is scope 3. And we are very focused on our scope 3 through green leases. And we've got various like-minded tenant partners onboarded with us. Investors are another critical stakeholders for us. So for example, we recently conducted a CLI Investor Day, probably one of the first of its nature in our sector in this country, where over 2 days, we take our investors through not only our strategies, but also our entire sustainability journey, and we get feedback from them, and we have one-to-one dialogues on meeting their own sustainability requirements. So that's a key part for us. I'll come to communities in the next slide, so I'll leave that for now. And even for our own staff, learning and development, as an example, is a very key lever of how we percolate ESG. So for example, things like fraud, bribery, and corruption, diversity trainings, sustainability linked trainings, these are all extremely key and mandatory in most of the cases, including cybersecurity, which all our more than 10,000 plus employees have to go through every year. A key way in which we engage our communities is through CapitaLand Hope Foundation, which is our vehicle to create social impact. So since its inception, we have contributed more than $50 million on high impact social projects across our key geographies, mostly in China, Vietnam, Singapore, and India, our 4 key geographies. And we're including doing that in our international geographies as well. One key project that I wanted to highlight here is what you see on the bottom left about CapitaLand Hope Schools. So we have built ground up or enhanced significantly schools in emerging markets like China, India, and Vietnam, which are meant to serve underprivileged children. And by constructing these schools and then maintaining these schools and even supporting the curriculum development of these schools, we have significantly increased the enrollment of underrepresented communities in the education system in these countries. And we've built more than 30 of such schools in all these geographies. And in together, we have supported nearly 500,000 beneficiaries, including children and seniors in need through our programs. As I said earlier, we believe in transparency and measurement and tracking. So every quarter, we publish metrics like these that you see on the screen to our external stakeholders and investors so that they can monitor where I am in my pledges to 2030 targets. So for example, we report, this is our first half 2022 results. We reported a 41 and 51% drop on energy and water per square meter since 2008. We reported how much carbon emission intensity we have reduced. We reported our green portfolio. For example, 49% of our portfolio globally is green today. We report where do we stand on diversity, on training. We have 100% of our suppliers who have signed our code of conduct, which determines the key sustainability criteria that we have to reach, they have to reach, so on and so forth. So this is sort of a tracker, very, very quantitative, which we put out there. And some of these numbers will go down and we will be challenged and questioned, and we will have to justify why they are going down and what are we doing, more importantly, to make sure that we stay on track to our 2030 targets. Very quickly, I won't spend too much time, but very quickly, some case studies to showcase on the ground in real life, how does all of this translate to, right? So for example, for some of you who are in Singapore, you would have seen this building called Capita Green. It's a very famous building in the CBD. It has got this red color flower structure on top, right? Why is this building special? It has many firsts on this. It has a double skin facade that reduces heat gain by 26%, which results in energy savings. It has got this cool void on the top, which sucks in energy, air at high altitude, which is 2 degrees cooler, and circulates it into the AHUs, and therefore the air running in the AHUs is already cooled, so your systems use less energy to circulate the air con. It's got a rainwater harvesting right from the rooftop all the way through drip irrigation throughout the building, right? Another building called 21 Collier Quay. This is the new headquarters of WeWork in Singapore. We did a major asset enhancement to convert a very old building into a platinum building. We got savings of more than 700 megawatt hour per year, and we actually resulted in cost avoidance of more than $100,000 per year as well. And we put these numbers to showcase financial returns do not come at odds with sustainability achievements. Yes, they're challenging, but they're not mutually exclusive. And we want to show through live examples that they both can be achieved together. And the last example I wanted to show is the newest building we have called Capita Spring. And the key part of this building is biodiversity. We have more than 80,000 plants, 60% and more of it which are native, that are spread across the entire building. In fact, 4 floors of this buildings are green oasis, where we only have these green features open for public. And this used to be actually an old car park that we completely redeveloped. It used to have hawkers, which we reinstated in a much better setting and giving them a much better customer base. So it created a huge social impact in that relocation as well. So what have we learned as an industry leader? I thought I'll leave all of you with this, because sustainability is a journey. 2050 is a long time away. And while it's great that everybody has pledged their net zero targets, what is important is what are we learning every single year? And for us, it's 3 things. The first, we realize that there is no silver bullet. Silver bullets look good on newspaper headlines, but real world implementation on the ground is in that sense less sexy, but far more impactful. So we must be very aware of bias towards groundbreaking ideas, but do not neglect proven low-risk solutions. And there will be multiple decarbonization pathways and solutions in parallel, and we need to keep experimenting with all of them. And which brings me to the second point, which is consistent progress is key. We need to show tangible progress, which is consistent towards the target step by step. And that is how we generate trust that we're going to reach there. But because the world is so VUCA today, and you can see what's happening macroeconomically, we need to showcase flexibility and adaptability and realize that there would be multiple pathways to reach my targets. And therefore, I need to tailor my organizational efforts in a way where, as a company, we can show that flexibility to reach our targets in various ways. And the third is power of partnerships. And I cannot emphasize this anymore. This is a problem that no one person, company, government can solve alone. So partnering with our value chain, with our suppliers, with our customers, with the innovators that I talked about is extremely key to not only develop trust, but to maximize the impact. This was my last slide to showcase the learnings. I would like to, with your permission, take 1 or 2 more minutes to just leave you with a video that showcases the sustainability efforts through innovation that we have taken, because that for us is a very key and unique lever that we use to reach our target. So I hope the video gives you a bit of an insight on how we do it and what it means for us. And for some of you who are more interested in some of the details, all our sustainability reports, etc., are on all this QR code and our website. So I will leave all of you with this video. And thank you very much for your time. I'll be very happy to answer any questions and deliberate further.
All right, great. So now we have some of the questions that we can invite everyone to come back and address. So let me just put all of you in. Yeah, we have Philippa here. If you need to open your camera. Right, good. So we have some questions. So the first one is addressing to Henderson Land. Actually, the question is more of balancing of between the green building innovation as a innovation and also the economic performance. What is your priority and also your balance?
Hi, thanks for the question. I think at Henderson Land, if you were to look at the three core pillars for Henderson Land is innovation, sustainability, and people-centric. So we value all these three pillars, are equally important, and that's why, when we construct a new building, new projects, we always have all these elements embedded into our strategy and into our projects. So of course, I think by spending more money on innovation, initially there may be an increase in cost, but over time, we're going to benefit from the in the long run, for the improving technology and efficiency and so on. So I would say, from the global perspective, innovation, sustainability are equally important in our design. I don't know if Edward has anything to add. And Rose, anything? Okay, thank you.
Right, great, thank you. Yeah, actually, all of those are important. We also need to make sure that each of those elements support each other. All right, so the next question we have for Philippa. So one of the question is, what do you enjoy the most when you're working with a blue scope steel?
What a great question. I would say I've been in organisations where sustainability hasn't been front and centre, and as a sustainability professional, sometimes feeling like you're pushing against a closed door can be hard work and can wear you down. One of the fabulous things about BlueScope is that door is wide open. We're hungry for ideas about how we can innovate and be better in sustainability, and all ideas are considered. And I think that leadership, which, to my presentation starts, with our purpose and our bond, working for an organisation that actually wants to do this is so refreshing. And, Jeff made a comment about, it being a challenging environment, and it really is a challenging environment. And I think one of the challenges is communicating to our customers and broader stakeholders that there are no, silver bullets to the earlier presentation. But that we are pulling every lever that we can, and the fact that I can play a very small role in that is what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Wow, I can imagine you wake up every morning feeling excited and also there's a calling in the work. Really awesome.
Most mornings, not every morning, but many mornings.
Yeah,
yes.
of course. Thank you. Yeah, so there are actually two questions. Three questions for Win. Good that we have generated quite a lot of interest. So the first question is, we know CapitaLand is growing rapidly, so through the merger acquisition. How do you see sustainability being aligned when you expand your portfolio?
It is absolutely front and center. And that's the reason why I spent some time on the investment part of it, because the one side impact of business growth, especially through inorganic mergers and acquisitions, is that whatever you're acquiring may not be at the same level of ESG maturity. But you still have to grow the business for all your stakeholders, including your shareholders and your people. So today, if I go and acquire a portfolio of assets, let's say in US or in Europe, where it performs very low on carbon performance, but it's an excellent acquisition for my shareholders and for my unit holders, will I not do it? Definitely not. I will do it. But what is important is that even though I know I've acquired something which is not green as per my standards, what I'm going to do with it to turn it around. So our focus really is always on while looking for opportunities to grow, but at the same time, in parallel, working out what is needed, both financially and non-financially, to get them to the green standard in the time that I want them to, and make sure we underwrite that going forward. So for us, business growth and sustainability leadership is absolutely tied very, very together. And honestly, to Philippa's point, that was one of the reasons why I took over this role as well, because I come from a commercial background. And at Kaplan, we are increasingly getting a lot of commercial people into sustainability because it is so integrated into our growth strategy today. Yeah.
Great. Being firm, being consistent throughout the group as well. Well done. So there is I'm not sure whether this question is sensitive and choose whether it's comfortable for you to answer. Can you share the carbon price you have put for Australia?
We don't yet share publicly our carbon price by country. So, my apologies, Jeff, that I may not be able to share with you the numbers, but I'll tell you two things. One, as I mentioned earlier, carbon price in each jurisdiction is the higher of whatever is the local regulatory requirements at the minimum for us. So we will never be lower than that. In all jurisdictions, we are always higher than that. The second is the way that gets integrated. And we are in the process of integrating it, either reflecting it in our cost of capital or calculating the residual carbon footprint of every investment, multiplying it by the carbon price, and therefore have a dollar carbon value and putting that as an OPEX outflow every year. So we are in the process of doing all this integration. So that is how we are going to be integrating it everywhere. But if our policies evolve, maybe by next year, then we will publish our carbon price by each country.
Great. Thank you so much. And those principles actually already give a guidance, the market guidance already. So James has a very good question.
Jeff, it has to be a level where it pinches the business and it makes a meaningful impact, right? If it's $2, it's not going to matter in when you're buying a $50 million building. So we make sure that it's impactful. Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. James has a great question. I think this question applies to everyone. So I will just go around and for this question. So first question is for CapitaLand, what is next for the company, which apply to the rest later, right? We start from Vin first.
I will take the liberty to tweak the question in the sustainability context, because strategically there's a lot of things that we're doing, and please do go through our public presentations, how we are going to grow as a private equity real estate investment manager. But given the context of this discussion, I'll focus on sustainability. There are 3-4 key things next for us. First is expanding the coverage of our Scope 3 measurement, because we already measure a significant part of our Scope 3 and we have quantified it in our sustainability reports. But there are, out of the 15 categories under GHG protocol, there are some impactful categories that we have still not fully quantified. For example, supply chain, which is less important for our business, but it's still relevant. So we are going to be quantifying that. So before 2025, more than 2/3 of our Scope 3 has to be quantified as per SBTi, and that's our key focus. The second key focus for us is, as I mentioned, on decarbonization pathways. So we are working with various technical experts who take our portfolios, run them through a decarbonization pathway towards net zero, and come out with what is needed in that journey. So that's a key thing that we are looking. And the third thing that's next for us is continuing to expand our partnerships within our ecosystem, especially with government agencies. And with us being an industry leader in this segment, in this geography, use that leadership position to influence thought leadership and get other people in the industry to come and join us in piloting breakthrough technologies. For example, we are building the first low carbon capture, so CCUS concrete in Singapore, which will be used in superstructures. We are doing that first building there. And if we can make that work, we want to percolate it everywhere in the country. So those are the 3 key priorities for us. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting. Thank you so much. So Philippa, what is next for BlueScope?
I think it's a very difficult question to answer, because the things that are next are usually the secret things. So we have lots of exciting plans underway, none of which I can share. But in the near term, I guess the big things that I spoke to in my presentation, that emerging and breakthrough technology space. So the biochar in particular is happening right now and will do over the coming months. So that's been at kind of at lab phase up until now, and will be actually happening in real life, hopefully, in the not too distant future. And then, as I said, the pilot hydrogen electrolyzer is the really big one, both for BlueScope and for Australia. That's a pretty big deal. So, but yes, there will be more, but my lips are sealed, so you'll have to watch this space.
I know, I can feel that. Oh, there's a lot of things, but I can't share. Okay, we're looking forward to that, and we can see a lot of innovation, research, and new things that is coming up. So everyone stay tuned with their new latest updates, and a lot of exciting things is coming our way. So what is next for Henderson Land? Back to you, Johnny.
Yeah, for us, in Hong Kong and China, there are clear targets as to when we have to achieve net zero. Of course, we are, going through that journey. We have a clear plan and targets that we will stick to, as we mentioned in our presentation. But I think what's important is that we have been working very closely with our subsidiaries and associate companies, especially Camgas. That they have been working on a lot of renewable energies projects in China. And one thing which I think is quite unique and quite innovative is that when people think about renewable energy, or when they think about phasing out all the petrol cars, they think about electric vehicles. But at the same time, not only do we think about moving towards that direction, but at the same time, we have been working on hydrogen way, using hydrogen as a way to for the buses business that we are considering. I think it's something that is quite unique for one of our associate companies to work on. And also we have one big tender last year, a piece of land, which is right in the center of Hong Kong. It's called the Central Harbourfront. It's going to be 1.6 million square foot. It's going to be completed in 2 phases. There's going to be a lot of greeneries, a lot of connections, a lot of new experience for our customers, a lot of innovative features that you will see in that new site. So next time when you come to Hong Kong, you can look at it from our office, and it's just under construction right now. So it's going to be a big project, one of the iconic projects in Hong Kong, apart from the Henderson. Thank you.
Great. So exciting technologies, exciting projects as well. So thank you so much for continually building this kind of high quality space for the environment. So this actually nicely wrap up our session for today. Over so many organizations submitted for this APN awards. We have actually 3 the best ones shortlisted. So whoever gets chosen as the award doesn't actually matter, because the most important thing is that we have 3 very unique and great stories to share to this industry. So the final award ceremony will be held in Bali, Indonesia on the 23rd of November. So the award ceremony will also be live streamed to the world. So again, all these recordings will be saved on the YouTube playlist. If you need to reach out to all of them, you can actually contact myself or your local green building councils, or reach out to them directly. So I hope that we have more interactions and the connections with the industry. So congratulations one more time to be our finalists of this APN Awards. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in Indonesia. Right. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And that concludes the end of our showcase today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.